So Sheffield Data for Good came about in my previous job at Good Things Foundation, thinking about ways we could better understand the communities and groups of people we worked with as a charity. And then it felt a bit like we were trying to get people to do work for us for free. So we just set up an event one night and said, if you're a data expert or you know about some of the challenges going on in Sheffield, come along and let's talk about this idea of how we can use better data to describe some of the challenges in the city. So we did that, and then it ended up in the format it is now, which is occasionally we hold an event, bring data people together, some other people who know stuff about a particular challenge, and we see how those two groups of people can work together to understand something better, and then hopefully pass that on so that the people who do stuff on the ground to resolve that have got something to go with. So I think it works in a number of ways. So that some third sector organisations have offered up their own data. So there's then a volunteer resource of free analysts essentially unearthing stuff in their data that perhaps they didn't know before or that kind of stuff. And we've got stories of it not just being about the things people find out in their data, but also the organisational change that happens for those third sector organisations when they realise how much insight is in their data. It sort of moves up the pecking order in their hierarchies back in the organisation. With other meetups that we do, it's more about organisations coming to share their expertise and guide the data analysis. So not necessarily they're getting the benefit of analysis of their own data, but they're shaping the way in which the analysis happens so that the things that come out of it are useful to them. I think a lot of people just come along to learn new skills as much as anything else from both the data side and the third sector side. I mean, we're still learning why some of the data people come along. They come from a range of backgrounds. So some will come from the private sector, they're doing data stuff in their day jobs. We've got a few academics that come along and other people that sort of are data analysts within the third sector as well. But I think all of them say that it's really refreshing being able to have an opportunity to apply their skills for good in that broad sense that perhaps they don't get those opportunities in the daytime. And I think also people get an opportunity to learn about other methods of doing stuff. So you get a range of different skills, different specialisms in the data stuff, and you get this kind of people looking at what other people produce and going, ooh, that's nice. How do you do that? And we promote the sharing of all the and being open and transparent with the methods people have done, and we centralise all that so that anybody can go back and see how people have done things with code or whatever it is. I mean, Sheffield Data for Good is very much about coming together and solving problems locally and applying your skills to be able to do that and being part of a collective, equal group that achieves that. So I am Tom French. I'm a freelancer and I work with charities in the third sector around how they can better use data and evaluation to tell the story of what they do, really. So an example from Sheffield Data for Good is Roundabout, the local youth homelessness charity in Sheffield, who opened up their data after a long period of sort of relationship building for Sheffield Data for Good. And we poured through some of their anonymised data to unearth patterns that they didn't know were happening for them about the likelihood that somebody coming through the door is also experiencing a different challenge, that kind of stuff. And that's helped them think about how they shape their offer and service, but also talk about what they do in a way that means they can talk about impact and evidence for the good work they do. So from a Sheffield Data for Good perspective, we'd love to hear from charities locally that just go, you know, we know we've got stuff lying around, help us make sense of it. We're a free resource, we're all volunteers. We can't promise where we'll get to, but the idea is that we're there to help people like charities, community groups, understand what's knocking around in their data better. Yeah, so a lot of, we notice a lot of students, master's students come along to Sheffield Data for Good. They feel like they don't necessarily get experience to work on data that's real world because they're kind of doing stuff in a confined academic environment. But that applies to anyone who's new to it. If anyone wants to come along, do some stuff with us as a volunteer and then talk about it as part of the work they've done, that's great. We encourage that. So if you want to get involved in Sheffield Data for Good, we run it through the Meetup websites, meetup.com/Sheffield Data for Good. If you just search for it, you'll find it as well. So that's a members group, and that's where we put all our events on and sort of share information that way. Also on Twitter, or just pop into Union Street. I'm here a couple of days a week if you want to have a chat about it. So to come along to anything we do as Sheffield Data for Good, there's no cost, and we certainly don't say you need to be a data expert at all. If you're just interested, come along. There are plenty of people there that in no way are what they perceive as data experts, but everybody brings expertise in some form or another, and all of that is useful in the mix. About 6 months been working as a freelancer, and I started realizing that working from home was a thing that A, affected my productivity, but also B, a little bit my sort of mental well-being, I think, just being sort of isolated. So it made me start thinking about co-working spaces, tried a few out, and what attracted me to Union Street is the space itself, but also massively the sort of ethos around it being sort of more of a cooperative nature, and the fact that the services that are employed by here are attempting to do social good as well as just provide a space. And now, having been here for a couple of months, you know, there's added value that I didn't realise I was going to have about being centrally located and what that means for being able to have meetings with clients, that kind of stuff, but also forging relationships that are relevant to my work with other co-workers here, and how that's beginning to sort of lead to work and interesting conversations. So there's kind of like a business promotion or business development element to that as well. So I think in the first instance, when I came to Union Street, I was expecting it to be primarily about being around people again, nice, getting out of the house, but quickly realised that the networks and the things like the Facebook group and the Slack channel are opportunities to really network and quickly start having conversations with people that are relevant to your work, or just willing to share their experiences as well. I'd say if you're thinking about co-working, just go and try Union Street out. I think there's pretty low barriers to entry. You kind of do a bit of a free trial, because it can be just a rolling month contract. The risks are pretty minimal. Just try it out, get a feel for it, and I think pretty quickly you get a sense of the benefit that it can bring to you.